Hello students, let me first make you understand about the syllabus of accountancy of class 12. You have got 3 books to study in class 12. The first book, the very first unit is NPO, non-profit organization. So that is a separate topic. Now the second chapter of the first book is partnership. So from the second chapter till the last chapter, all the chapters are related to partnership. So the first book consists of 1 unit of NPO and the other 5 units of partnership. And in the second book, you'll be studying about company accounts. So second book actually has 3 topics to study. The first one is it's about shares. The second chapter is about debentures, and the third one is also about debentures, and that is known as redemption of debentures. And in the third book, you will be studying about the financial statements of a company. Remember, students, you have already studied about financial statements of a sole proprietorship in class 11. But now you would be studying financial statements of company accounts. So the very first topic is NPO. Right now, actually, we should skip that topic because it's going to be very difficult to teach the topic through the video medium. So I think we actually should start with partnership because you already have studied theory of partnership in class 11. So it will be a little easy for you to understand about it. So the as you can see, the first topic is accounting for partnership firms, the fundamentals. Fundamental means you are going to study about the theory of partnership firm, about the act, and about the accounts, how the accounts of partnership firms are made. You have not studied about accounts of partnership in class 11. You have already only studied about the theory. So now you will be studying about the accounts of partnership firm. So let me just talk about the contents of the chapter. Look at the slide, students. The first 3 topics, they are theory topics. From the fourth topic, that is preparing the capital accounts of partners under fixed and fluctuating capital methods. From here, the practical portion starts. Then the division of profit among partners, profit and loss appropriation account, pass adjustment, guarantee of minimum profit to a partner. So let's get started. Students, you've already have an idea, about partnership. You know what is partnership deed, how many types are of partners. You remember there are 6 types of partners. So you already know this much. So I'll just talk about the theory portion very quickly in a very short brief manner. You can actually go through this PDF file, or if you have the textbook of DK Goyal, you can actually refer to the theory portion. So I'll just quickly summarize the theory portion for you all. So you know what is partnership. Partnership is basically the agreement, verbal or written, between 2 people or more than 2 people. So at least we need 2 people to actually start a partnership firm. So you know the difference between firm and a company. Partnership firm and a company. So in company we issue shares and debentures. I had already told you all this in class 11. And in partnership firm, we do not issue shares or debentures. We just only contribute capital. That is, all the partners contribute capital and they actually start the business. And over the years, all the partners actually distribute profits or share losses among themselves according to a pre-decided profit sharing ratio. So I'll be talking about all that, and we need to understand all this for the practical portion also. So partnership is actually registered under Partnership Act 1932. You know already, right? So Partnership Act 1932, this act has not been, I would say, has not been updated. It has got no changes. So in Partnership Act, we actually have to understand that the Partnership Act basically is actually basically the act which is for the partners to understand for the mutual trust and faith. By this we mean that they have to be honest, accurate, and an equitable manner. That means all the partners, they have to be equal. They have to actually present a true and fair picture of the partnership business. That means they can't be cheating each other. Their or profit sharing ratio or their losses are actually shared or distributed as per the pre-decided ratio. All the partners, they already decide the ratio, and this ratio is mentioned in the partnership deed. You have studied about partnership deed in class 11th also. Partnership deed is basically a written agreement between the partners in which they actually talk about the terms and conditions of their partnership, who's going to share how much and who's going to contribute how much capital and everything like that. So this is the brief actually description about partnership. So talking further about this, we already know that there is no separate legal entity in partnership. You know what is separate legal entity? Basically, separate legal entity, we mean the partners are not different from the business, as there is, as that is in the case of a company. The people who run a company, the board of directors, they are different from the entity of a company, right? They have separate legal entity, but in partnership we do not have separate legal entity. All the partners are personally liable to pay off the debts of the business. So in other words, it has got no existence separate from its partners. It means in the case of the bankruptcy of the partnership firm, private estates means the private property of the partners would be liable to meet the firm's debt. In a case of a bankruptcy or an insolvency, the partners are liable to pay off the debts of the business, right? So this is the brief description about partnership. The next page, the page talks about the various characteristics or features of a partnership firm. So this actually is a very important topic. I would like all of you to mark this in your book. It is very important topic. So let me get started with it. The first one is two or more persons. We are already talked about this in class 11th also, that at least two partners are required to start a partnership act, and this is mentioned in the section 464 of our Indian Companies Act 2013, that the maximum number of partners is 50. As I already told you, the Partnership Act 1932 has not been updated. When the Companies Act 2013, earlier it was 1956, was revised in 2013, they actually issued an annexure for Partnership Act also, that the maximum number of partners in a partnership firm can be 50. Earlier, the 1932 Act was silent about the maximum number of partners in a partnership firm, but now the Companies Act has mentioned in annexure that a partnership firm can have only maximum 50 people in a partnership firm. So this question is oftenly asked. Please underline this in your book. This question is often asked in boards or exam also, or later on in any of your competitive exams. This question is always put up, that according to which section of which act the partners maximum partners is actually given. So according the answer is according to section 464 of Companies Act 2013, the maximum number of partners in a partnership firm can be 50. The second point is agreement. So all the partners, they first of all, before starting up the partnership firm, they all actually sign an agreement. That agreement could be verbal or could be in a written form. They actually actually talk about the existence of the agreement. They talk about the mutual agreement. They all decide who is to contribute how much and who is to share how much of the profit or the losses. So as you have already studied about this in class 11th also, that this agreement can be in a written form or in an oral form. The agreement forms the basis of the mutual rights and duties of the partners. So this line means, all according to this agreement, the rights and duties of the partners are also decided in this agreement. So the third one is existence of business and profit motive. So we already know this, that the partnership business is started for the profit motive only, and it cannot be for any non-profit profit aim, or the business has to actually carry a profit motive, because all the partners, they want to earn profit out of this partnership firm. So all the partners have to work for getting the profits. The fourth one is sharing of the profits. I've already told you about this. The partners share the profit, or they share losses in a pre-decided ratio, So and this actually, the paragraph talks about that, that it is not necessary for all the partners should share the losses also. So in the practical portion, you'll see some examples of it, that all the partners do not share losses. See, all the partners have to share the profit, but it is not necessary for all the partners to share the losses. Suppose there are three partners, A, B, C. C is a new partner, so A and B decided that C is not going to share losses. If they are, the firm incurs some losses for the next 5 years, C is not going to bear those losses. If they decide so in their agreement, it has to be followed. So in such cases, it's not necessary that all the partners actually share the losses, but it is very, very necessary that all the partners share profits. You had already studied about the types of partners in class 11, that all the partners are not active. Some of them are dormant sleeping partners, holding out, partner by estoppel, or a minor partner. So all these type of partners, they definitely share profits in small or large proportions, but it's not necessary according to the Partnership Act 1932 that all the partners share losses as well. So the fifth point is relationship of principal and agent. So here, the principal here we means the main governance, the main entity. So the main entity here is the partnership firm, and all the agents here are the partners. So all the partners have to work hard for the principal, for the main entity. The main entity is partnership firm. So all the partners have to work hard for the benefit of the partnership firm. So I hope this much is clear. The point 6 says business is carried on by all or any one of them acting for all. So as I told you about sleeping partner, dominant partner, sleeping partner, dominant partners, they do not actually participate actively in the affairs of the partnership firm or the partnership business, but they definitely get profits. So in such cases, the other partners who are active partners, they will work hard for the sleeping or the dormant partner also. They will not think that the particular partner is not active, so we will not give him or her the profits, or we will not work for his or her benefit. They all have to work hard. So in this paragraph, you can see that the business is carried on by all, anyone acting for all, or all acting for one. So last one again, it says there is no separate existence. There is no separate existence of the partnership from firm from its partners. The partners are definitely personally liable to pay off the debts of the partnership firm. Okay. So next, the topic says the topic talks about the rights of the partners. So in the you have to understand the rights, and then the next page will be talking about the duties of a partner. So let me first elaborate this. Rights of a partner. Every partner has the right to share profit and losses with the other partners in the agreed ratio. So see, the agreed ratio will be decided in the agreement, which could be written or in a oral form. Every partner has the right to take part in the conduct of the business. Has the right to take part in the conduct of the business means it is his or her right to participate. But if the partner is a sleeping partner or a dormant partner, does not want to participate in the affairs of the business, that's also all right. So if the partner wants to participate, the other partners have no right to stop that particular partner from taking part in the business. Then the third line says every partner has the right to be consulted in the matters related to partnership business before taking any decision in the partnership business, all the partners have to be consulted. That means their opinion are very very important. Their opinions have to be, taken account of. Their opinions are actually, they could be actually consulted for a particular deal. So all the partners have the right to actually, say, to put up their willingness. Then the fourth point says every partner has the right to inspect. Inspect means look into the books of accounts. So no partner, one partner can stop the other partners from looking into the books of the accounts. All the partners have the right to inspect or look into the books of the accounts. The fifth point says every partner has the right to disallow the admission of a new partner. So students, you must understand what do we mean by admission of partner. I gave you example. See, there are, if there are two partners A and B, and C wants to join, so before the C wants to join, A and B have to actually, actually have to come to this consent. They both have to give this consent that they want to admit partner C into their partnership firm. Suppose A is agreeing to for admitting C into the partnership firm, and B denies it. B says, no, I don't want C to join our business. So A cannot force B, so actually here all the partners have to agree. And if any partner disallows admission of any new partner, then the new partner may not join. So each and every partner has the right to put their willingness, put their opinion. The point 6 says every partner is the joint owner of the partnership property. So in this line, it actually, says, suppose the firm, the partnership firm, ABC, suppose let's say ABC is a partnership firm name, and ABC owns a property or owns a building. And after running it for like 10 or 20 years, the partnership firm, the partners want to dissolve the firm. They just want to get over this firm. They want to just, wind up this firm. They just want to dissolve this firm. So what are we they are going to do? They will talk, they will actually assess all the property of the firm, and they will actually look to its price, to its value, current value, and they will, by selling it, they will divide all the money among all the partners, so in this line actually means that the property of the partnership firm belongs to each and every partner. All the partners have the right on the property of the partnership business. So I hope these 6 points are clear. Then the point number 7 says, it's a very very important point, students, please do mark it, very very important. Point number 7 is very important. If a partner has given a loan to the firm, he has the right to receive interest at agreed rate. If the rate of interest is not agreed, it is paid at 6% per annum. What do we mean by loan to the firm? Suppose the partners have started the business with capital, let's say 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh. There are three partners, ABC, and they started the business with 1 lakh rupees each. After a few years, the firm is actually incurring some losses, and they want more money. So they actually decided to raise money. They want money to actually conduct the business further. So they decide that they will not go to bank, they will not actually borrow money from any outsider. So they decide, one of the partners, maybe partner A, he actually decides that I will actually, give loan to firm. Loan to firm means the firm has the responsibility of paying that loan back to Mr. A along with the interest. In the beginning, A had contributed, whatever has contributed was capital of the business, but now A wants to give some loan to the business. So actually that loan of the business will be given at some interest rate. So interest rate will be decided in the agreement of the partnership firm, and if the agreement is silent about the interest rate, then the interest on the partner's loan is given at 6% per annum. Then point number 8 says, if a partner incurs expenses or make payments on the behalf of the firm, he has the right to be indemnified by the firm. So this line means if a partner has spent, let's say, rupees 1000 on behalf of the firm. On the behalf of the firm means the firm had to pay that 1000 rupees, but the partner paid on the behalf of the firm. So the partner has every right to get indemnified, means the partner will get that money back from the partnership account. He has spent that 1000 rupees on the behalf of the firm, not on his own behalf. So the firm has the responsibility of paying that 1000 rupees back to that particular partner. In point number 9, every partner has a right to retire from the firm after giving a proper notice. So what does this means? The partners may decide that I do not want to continue with the firm. I want to take the retirement. So before taking up the retirement from the business, the partners actually have to give a notice to the firm, because the principal here is the partnership firm and all the partners are its agents. So the agents have to give a notice, the employees give a notice before leaving a particular job. The agents or the partners have to give a notice to the partnership firm that in so and so period I will be leaving this partnership firm as a partner. So I hope students you have understood this much. We have covered 3 topics. What do we mean by partnership firm, partnership deed, what are the characteristics or features of a partnership firm, and what are the rights of a partner. So we have covered this much. I hope this much is clear to you. You must have observed that all of this is very, very different from what you studied in class 11th, and it's going to get tougher, with every page. So students, my advice to you would be that you start working hard, whatever may be the circumstances in our country right now. Just remember one thing, that you have to appear for the board exams at the end of the year. So actually you all should work hard, and whatever help would be possible from my side, I'm ready to give you that help also. So please do study at home, don't waste this time. I am trying my level best to make you understand in every possible manner. So just write all notes in your notebook and do ask doubts. Don't shy. Do ask doubts, whatever you feel like asking. So the next topic is LLP. As you can see, the full form of LLP is Limited Liability Partnership. Students, this LLP topic is very, very new. See, as you can see, the LLP Act 2008, the year is mentioned here. It's known as LLP Act 2008. It was formed in the year 2008. And why did this act was formed? As you know, as we already have studied this much, this far, that the liability of all the partners in a partnership firm is unlimited. Unlimited means the debts of the firm has to be paid. If the firm money is not sufficient, the debt of the firm is to be paid from the pocket of the partners. So why this act was introduced? Act was introduced to help the partners, as all the partners have unlimited liability. So if the partners start with an LLP firm, the name has to be actually particularly mentioned that it is an LLP firm. If the partners start with LLP firm, they will actually have their liability limited. Liability limited means they will have liability limited up to the capital contribution. Suppose if a partner has contributed 1 lakh as in capital to the firm, so his or her liability restricts to 1 lakh. His personal property is not liable to pay off the debts of the firm, even if the firm incurs some losses. So this act is very, very good from the point of view of the partners, because this actually gives some relief to the partners. So let's talk about the nature of LLP, what this LLP is, and then you can see here is this topic, the difference between the normal partnership firm and LLP firm. So let's talk about the nature of LLP. LLP is a body corporate formed and incorporated under this act. Under this act means the LLP Act 2008. It is a legal entity. Legal entity means it stands true in the eyes of the law. So law, it is abided by the law. So it is legal entity separate from that of its partners. So you can see this line actually, it actually gives the partnership firm some features of a company. As you all must be having this much idea that the members of a company, they have limited liability, but in a partnership firm all the partners have unlimited liability. but this line actually gives some relief to the partners if they actually incorporate an LLP firm. So their liability would be limited up to their capital contribution. The third line says LLP shall have perpetual succession. Perpetual succession, you already know this term. This means the firm will be actually formed for in the eyes of the law for a longer period of time. Perpetual succession means men may come, men may go, but I go on forever. You remember this line? We had used this line for in the context of the company, but in NLP also this actually applies. So as you can see, there are some features in NLP that actually actually that are very similar to the features of a company. So the fourth point says any change in the partners of an LLP shall not affect the existence, rights and liabilities of LLP. LLP means this line means even in the LLP firm, if the number of partners increase or decrease means A, B, C, D, four partners, and then they have reduced to three partners or two partners. So the value of LLP, the legal value of LLP shall not decline, shall not actually get affected. It's going to continue. So I hope you have understood this much. So let's compare the normal partnership firm with the LLP. As you know already that the difference has to be based on some basis. The first basis is applicable law. So the in the normal partnership act is Indian Partnership Act 1932, and NLP act is NLP Act 2008. The second one is registration. So you already know registration of a normal partnership firm is optional. If the partners want to register, they may register, and if they do not want to register, they may not register. And we had already studied in class 11 that registration of a partnership definitely benefits the partners in a certain way, but it is optional. So in a case of LLP, it is not optional, it is compulsory for the LLP firm to get registered. And see, it's get registered under the registrar of the companies, not under the registrar of the firm. It gets registered under the registrar of the company, because its features are very similar to that of a company. So the third point says how the normal partnership is created. It is created by an agreement. This agreement could be written or in an oral form, but in a case of LLP, it is created by law. So here the agreement is not optional. Here the agreement cannot be verbal agreement. This agreement has to be in a legal or in a written form, because it is abided by law. Then the fourth one is body corporate cannot become a partner. Body corporate means any organization, any other enterprise cannot become a partner. Suppose this there is one partnership firm ABC, and there is one another firm XYZ. So XYZ cannot become a partner of ABC firm, because XYZ is a body corporate. It's automatically a separate business. So that separate business cannot become a partner of the other business. But in case of LLP, it actually allows the other body corporates to become its partners. See, here is very, very, they are different from each other. Then the fifth point says it is not a separate legal entity. So you already know, in a normal partnership firm, there is no separate legal entity. Partners are liable to pay off the debts of the firm from their own pocket. But in case of LLP, as the name suggests, limited liability partnership, the liability of the partners is limited up to their capital contribution. So the sixth point is perpetual succession. Now what is perpetual succession? I have already talked about this in the previous page. Perpetual succession means men may come and men may go, I go on forever. This feature is actually of a company. This feature does not apply to a partnership firm. So let's say if a partnership firm has got four partners, A, B, C, D, and D dies, or D wants to retire from the business, so the partnership firm cannot actually continue. The partnership firm has to be dissolved. Even if the other partners do not want to dissolve it, they have to dissolve that partnership firm, because D is actually dead, or D is retiring from the business. So the board then the actually business has to dissolve. So here the perpetual succession doesn't this feature doesn't apply. But in a case of LLP, The partners may come, the partners may go, but the existence or the existence or the you can say the existence of or the impact of the business does not fade away. It does not go up with the going partners. It actually remains the same. So the next point is number of partners. So the minimum number of partners in a normal partnership firm is 2 and maximum is 50 according to section 464 of a Companies Act 2013. We have already studied this, right, in the first page. But in a case of LLP, the minimum number is 2 and there is no maximum limit in a case of LLP for a partners. Then the point number 8 says the firm cannot own any asset. The partners own the assets of the firm. This line means the partners actually they take away all the assets of the firm ultimately when the firm is dissolved or the firm is closed. But in case of LLP, like in a case of a company, the assets of the LLP they actually continue to remain the same. The assets of the LLP, cannot be taken over by the partners because there is separate legal entity. The partners do not have right over the property of the business. So the last point is liability. Liability in case of a normal partnership is unlimited for the partners, and in case of a LLP, it is limited to their capital contribution. So as you can see, there is a lot of repetition. I have concluded this in a well manner for you. I hope you have understood this much. So the next topic is partnership deed. Students, you already know partnership deed is like agreement between the partners, their terms and conditions. This could be in a written or in oral form, and it is not compulsory for the partners to actually develop a partnership deed. It is optional, and it is good for the partners to actually develop. If they develop a partnership deed, they could actually benefit out of it. Suppose in the near future the partners actually dispute or they have a fight over some terms and conditions among themselves, so they can actually appear before the court, and court may actually solve all the dispute among the partners on the basis of their written agreement. So it is always better to have an written agreement between the partners. The next point says what all information is mentioned in a partnership deed. Partnership deed actually includes all the information about the name and address of the firm, name and addresses of the partners, or the nature of the firm that the partners are going to start, the amount of capital. Capital means the money that the partners are going to contribute to the firm, the amount of the capital got to be contributed by the each partner, then interest on capital. See, the partners have contributed money for the business, so it is the responsibility of the business to pay them back their interest also, because the money was lying with the business. So business has to pay some interest on that capital, so it is a benefit for the partners. So that interest on capital rate is already pre-decided, right? Then drawings. Drawings means the partners actually how much they can actually draw from the capital. Drawing means, right, drawing means the money withdrawn from the business for personal use. They use it for their personal purpose. That is called drawings. So now the partners have drawn money from the business for their own personal use, so now the partners are liable to pay back interest on those drawings to the partnership firm, because there is actually this is drawn for their personal use, so the business has to benefit out of it. Now the point A says the profit sharing ratio between the partners, salary. The next point is salary. Salary means it and the agreement could actually talk about the salary to be given to each partner. Students, the partners they get profits also, they share losses also, but there could be some term and condition in the business that a particular partner may get some permanent salary per month. That could be also a clause in a partnership deed. So next is goodwill. What is goodwill? Goodwill is the name and fame of a particular business, the good aspect of a business. So what is goodwill here? Goodwill is very, very important. You'll study about goodwill in next chapter also in detailed manner. So just understand right now that goodwill is actually is divided among the partners. Goodwill can be actually name and fame of the business can be actually valued in terms of money, and that money is divided among partners when the particular partnership firm dissolves, it ends. Okay. Then accounting period of the firm, that the firm is going to continue for how many months, or it's going to work for like it's going to work on half yearly basis, quarterly basis, or it's going to maintain its account on yearly basis. That is also decided in partnership deed. Then what could be the methods of recording the firm's account, and who is going and how is auditing work of the business is going to be done, and when is going to partnership business is going to commence means to start. Then what will be duration of this partnership deed. I hope you remember that the partnership deed actually can be specified before starting, that the particular partnership firm can be will be continuing for these many years, 10 years, 15 years. It is actually pre-decided. Then point 16 says that all the decisions will be taken according to Garnier versus Murare rule. Students, you may not learn about 16 point. It is actually not very important from exam point of view. You may cut this 16 point. You will study about this point. Garnier versus Murare is actually a ruling of a court. You will study about this when you actually go to your BCom class, BCom college. You'll study about this. You can point cut off this 16 point. 17 point says what all bank accounts will be used for dealing with the firm or dealing with the partners. Then point 18 says what rules will be followed when we want to admit a new partner into the business, what rules will be followed when a partner is retiring from the business, how the disputes, the fights between the partners would be settled. So this partnership deed talks about all these points. You may learn any 10 out of these topic. Then the next point is some importance of partnership deed. So I had already talked about this. The partnership deed is very very important because it actually specifies rights and duties and liabilities of each partner. So all the partners have understanding that what are their rights, duties and liabilities. Then it partnership deed helps avoiding misunderstanding among the partners. The partners may settle their disputes in front of the court if they actually go for a written agreement. So it is very very important for a partnership firm to actually write their partnership deed and decide all the terms and conditions pre-hand, so later on all the disputes can be settled according to that partnership deed. So the next topic is what is done when a partnership deed is absent. Absent means the partnership deed was not made, all the partners did not decide on to any partnership deed in a written form. So what will be done in that case if a firm does not prepare a partnership deed? So what all rules will be followed? This topic is very 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 important from the point of view of theory as well as practical. If you do not understand these rules, you'll not be able to do the calculation portion later, the practical portion. So you students, you must understand by heart these points. These points are very 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 important. So do write them in your notebook also. The first rule is profit sharing ratio. This rules actually says if there is no partnership profit was decided among the partners. If suppose there are three partners A, B, C, and they did not decide upon their partnership ratio, so what will happen? Their ratio is not decided, so all the partners become equal partners, and now they have claim over the profits of the business equally. So all the partners going to have equal profits. So now their ratio would be 1:1:1. Interest on capital, if the partnership deed is silent or it does not talk about interest on capital, interest on capital is not mentioned in the partnership deed, so no interest on capital is to be provided. Students, do mark this, it's very very important. Interest on capital is not given to the partners if it is not mentioned in the partnership deed. And same applies to interest on drawings also. Interest on drawings is not applied when the partners do the drawings. Interest on drawings is not applied if the rate of interest on drawings is not mentioned in the partnership deed. Then the point fourth says salary to a partner. If the partnership deed is silent about giving any salary or commission to the partners may not actually get salary or commission. So if it is not mentioned in the partnership deed, they may not get it. Then point number 5 says interest on loan. Very, very important line. We had already studied this in the previous page also. Interest on loan. Loan is the money which actually the partners lends to the business. So if the business is actually getting some loan from the partner, so it has to pay interest on loan to the partner. If the deed is silent about this interest rate, so this interest rate could be calculated at 6% per annum. Then point number 6 says admission of a new partner. So all the partners, I had already told you about this, all the partners have to give consent while admitting a new partners. If any of one partners denies it, says no, that the new partner cannot join, the new partner actually will not join, no matter what. Then the point number 7 says each partner can participate in the conduct of the business. We already know this, that each partner has the right to participate in the affairs of the business. Point number 8 says each partner can inspect or keep a copy of the books of the accounts. So all the partners have the right to observe or actually verify or to calculate or to check actually the books of the accounts of the business. So no partner can actually deny the other partner from looking into the books of the account. So all the partners have right over the books of the account. So I hope this much is clear. Let me just wind up this topic for you. If the partnership deed does not mention about profit sharing ratio, all the partners become equal partners. If the partnership deed is silent about interest on capital and interest on drawings, no interest on capital and interest on drawings is charged. Salary of a partner will not be given to the partner until unless it is mentioned in the partnership deed. If interest on loan is not given in partnership deed, still the partners get interest on loan at 6% per annum. It is the rule, and no new partner can be admitted into the business without the consent of all the partners until unless all the partners agree. Point number 7 says all the partners have the right to participate in the conduct or affairs of the business. And point number 8 says all the partners have the right to keep a copy or keep a check on the books of the accounts. So I hope this much is clear to you. I hope you will revise and write all the notes in the notebook.